What's going on, people? I'm not going to be long on this topic here. I just want to make a comment on something my son brought to my attention. He asked me earlier if I heard about what was happening with Chris Rock and a show that he did back in 2011 when he, quote, allowed these white men to use the word nigger. Now, as some of you should already know, those that have been watching my videos since the beginning, I'm not really politically correct on a lot of topics. I tend to speak what's in my heart. I tend to speak what I feel. I don't believe in being phony and unreal. I do at times spare people's feelings. I'm very selective in the words that I use. But when it's time for me to tell the truth, I refuse to hold back and then have to deal with whatever consequences that come as a result of that. Now, we're living in a time where people are extremely sensitive on just about every level. I grew up in a time as far back as the civil rights movement where nothing was hidden, where white people would straight up call you a nigger. And there's nothing you can really do about it unless, of course, you decide to attack them physically. Yes, there were a lot of race fights back in time. A lot of white people were being beat and stomped out because they called a black person a nigger. And then there are many black people that were actually hanged just for being black or being in the wrong neighborhood or whistling at a white woman or even looking at a white woman. But now in the year 2018, much of what was said in the past is now being brought forward in this day and time, and people are being punished for that. They're being punished for things that have nothing to do with this time. If there's not enough in 2018 that we can really deal with, that we have to go back in time to attack people, to lock people up, to take people's hard-earned dollars. Now, again, I came up in a time where there was no such thing as being political correctness, especially when it came to comedians. And some of my favorite comedians outside of Richard Pryor was Eddie Murphy. Now, Richard Pryor had an extremely dirty mouth. And I remember when I was not even old enough to listen to Richard Pryor. And then as I got older, I say in my early teens, you hear it from, people in school, dudes in school may have it on a cassette tape or 8-track tape, and you kind of listen to it, outside the home, right? Because I grew up in a home where we just didn't curse, right? So, I remember hearing an album, because it was on an album at that time of Richard Pryor, was Something I Said, I recall Moms Mabley, and those of you that's old enough know who Moms Mabley is. She was quite dirty, okay, when it comes to her jokes. So I came up at a time where there was no political correctness. I remember Eddie Murphy talking about gay people, and he straight up called him a faggot, right? And he would impersonate gay people, right? And nobody had a problem with it. People at that time were a lot stronger and more stable than the people nowadays, because people now are just too sensitive, and they come with an agenda to destroy you for something that maybe you said back in time. So if Eddie Murphy was active now, doing active work, or maybe about to host the Oscars, somebody will go back in his past and pull some jokes back where he said something about gay people or white people and try to destroy Eddie Murphy, because he had some very raunchy jokes at that time. Wasn't too bad for me because we were used to that. It was no big deal, but now it's a big deal in this day and time. Now, when it comes to Chris Rock, quote unquote, letting these white men say that, now, I knew black men when I was growing up that only dated white women. They've only hung around white dudes. And I was probably one of his only black friends. And to this day, I still consider him a friend. He and his brother are married to white women. They have biracial children. And the company they keep are white people. That's the environment. And I'm sure they heard all types of racist jokes. Now, I think when it comes to someone, a white person using the term nigger, I think it has a lot to do with the comfort zone they have with you. How you guys joke among yourselves. Because you may joke with them, and you know black people got a habit of calling white people crackers, honky, peckerwoods, all of these racial names. They even call each other racial names. But then the minute the white person used the term nigga or nigger, now they have a heart attack. It's a problem. He's a racist. And you attack that white man. I recall I was at the YMCA one night. And I'm going to let you listen to this Seinfeld joke. It's not really a joke because if you listen to the context in which these three men were talking, right? Now, Seinfeld probably felt uncomfortable because of the fact it was his show. But if you listen to the context in which they were speaking, it was not offensive. It wasn't offensive at all. But back to my story. I was at the YMCA, and you have these white dudes that try to be black, or they think they black, or they were referred to when I was coming up as wiggers. And, you know, white niggers. So he came down off the elevator and he saw me standing there, and he was on the phone. And while he was talking on the phone, every other word came out of his mouth was nigger, right? And I guess he was talking to one of his black friends on the phone that felt comfortable with him using that term. So I stopped him. I said, yo, man. I said, yo, bro. I ain't even call him bro. I said, yo, man, don't talk like that around me. You know, oh, man, I mean, don't talk like that around me. Okay, go somewhere. Go outside with that nonsense. I don't want to hear it. And he went on outside. Another situation where this Italian man that was married, that loved black women, but he only loved to screw black women. All right. And he talked about how he give them money, and he's talking about what he did to these black females. I felt a little offended. And I'm like, yo, man, don't talk to me about that, man. I don't want to hear about that, man, with you, who you screwing. Because he always make it a habit to say this black woman, oh, she's beautiful, or she's got a kid, she's single parent mom, or whatever. And I gave her a couple of dollars. And I didn't want to hear that. And he's like, well, you know, you got black men, they date white women too, and black men say this and black men say this. I said, that's them. I ain't got nothing to do with that, man. I don't want to hear that madness, man. Go somewhere with that, right? And he respected me for that because, of course, I didn't like the context in which he was speaking. Now, there's a lot of comedians, man, that I love, white comedians, that had no problem using the word faggot. They had no problem using the word nigger. There was no limits to them. I mean, they like Sam Kinison. Who else was it? It was Sam Kinison. And I see his face in my head. I can't think of him right now. George Carlin. He hit everybody. There was like not one person. I don't care if you're a woman. I don't care if you're gay. I don't care if you're black. I don't care if you're Latino, Italian. He had a joke or a racial joke about you. And people laugh. We didn't take offense to that, right? And I love listening to George Carlin. I love listening to all these other white comedians that don't mind muffling them. They don't muffle themselves, right? I had no problem. But nowadays, we're in a time where people are extremely too sensitive, right? And especially black people, we got to get out of that mode, man, because your sensitivity is being used against you. I'm going to repeat that. Your sensitivity towards race and towards blackness is being weaponized against you to control you, to manipulate you, to complete a certain agenda that maybe somebody else have. Let's just look at politically. Politically, if they want black people to be against Republicans or Trump, all they have to do is throw something racist. Oh, he said this to a black woman, or he did this to a black child, or he did this, or he said nigger, or he's a racist. And black people, that's now he's like enemy number one. So they weaponize your emotions, your blackness. They weaponized it, and they're using it against you, using your emotions to accomplish whatever agenda that they have, that they want to pass. They care nothing about you. You're still poor. You're still on the bottom crying out how nobody cares about you. So they'll stand up and make a few promises, cater to your emotions, get you worked up, mission accomplished. Now you're back to where you were from the very beginning. Now, I'm going to let you listen to this video clip. Excuse me. And you tell me if you feel that something is wrong with what they're talking about. I see nothing wrong in what they're saying, especially if you listen to the context of what they're saying and how they're talking among themselves and who is being referred to as the nigger. The white man is being referred to as the nigger, not Chris Rock. But it's the word that's got people ruffled. Like you can't say that. But anyway, listen to this and tell me what you think.
He's the blackest white guy I fucking know. And then all the negative things we think about black people, this fucker.
You're saying I'm a nigger.
Yes, you are the niggerest fucking white man I have ever.
Amazing. I don't think he could do that.
Oh,
What?
I don't think he has those
There's only
qualities.
two.
You don't even understand.
Really?
You don't really know him. Like I've worked with him.
No, like your bit
No,
about.
I wouldn't use it anywhere.
No, exactly. These two.
We
use
say
that
nigger on stage.
on stage.
You guys don't. That's
Yeah,
This
that's
is
the
in two
difference.
teams
That's
here.
the difference between
That's right. That's right.
We
say
can
nigger
pair
on
up in
stage. You
different
guys
ways,
don't.
but that's definitely a pairing. Who
We
says
say-
nigger on stage? We don't.
Well, you just did.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah.
You and me say
No,
nigger
no,
in
no,
private.
no.
These two guys. These two guys don't. I don't believe he says it in private.
I've given it up just because it's played.
I don't believe it's. I don't think you've ever said it probably in your life.
No,
I don't
no.
think. No. Yeah, that's it. That's the huge difference between you and me. I think.
Well,
That's
you
what I've said.
found the humor of it.
Yeah.
I haven't found it.
Right.
Nor do I seek it.
Right.
So,
Oh my God! Find a way.
Okay, so you guys heard that for yourself. There was nothing they said that was offensive. I don't even think this should even be a big deal. I don't even think they should be even discussing this because nothing that was said was offensive. And the white dude came back and said, so you're saying I'm a nigger? And Chris Rock says you're the niggerest nigger, whatever he said to this white guy. And they discussed whether or not they use the word or not and who uses the word. So I don't take offense to this. And I just think this is another tool or weapon that's being used to play on black people's emotion and white people. White people that feel guilty every time they hear that word nigger. They feel guilty about what their ancestors did to the so-called black Americans. So feedback, tell me what you think, subscribe, click on the PayPal link, and donate to the channel. Until that next time, I'm fearless.